Welcome to this week's Everyday Dharma group here at beautiful Bali Rica in beautiful Costa Rica. Jeff is going to be our speaker today. And before he begins, we usually have meditation, and usually many times it's simply silent. But today we want to do something a little different. New people in our group are Wendy and Dawn.
And Levin.
And who?
Levin.
Oh, and Levin is here as well. I haven't met Levin yet.
Yes, with them. They're all a team.
They're all together. Mother, father,
Patty.
husband, Patty. What did
Patty
I
is
say?
the mother.
Patty's mama, Dawn is daughter, Levin is daughter's husband.
Yes.
Everybody see him?
We can.
Okay. They had a tragedy the day after our last talk, in which they were at Playa Hermosa with Patty's husband, Dawn's father, Levin's father-in-law, and he drowned. They have asked to say something in the pavilion, and so I want everyone to bring themselves into a place of real stillness and real silence. And I understand correctly, do I, Patty or Dawn, you all are of Quaker persuasion?
I put my Quaker, my mom's not.
She said yes?
She said
Yes.
Don is Quaker and the mother is Catholic.
Okay, well, in our tradition of using things from other places, I thought my ancestors were Quakers from Nantucket Island, and I have all my life known the Quaker Creed by heart, and perhaps I can remember it, although my memory is going. And this is for those of us who are alive and for their family, from the Society of Friends or Quakers. It's called the Quaker Creed usually, and it goes this way. I shall pass this way but once. Therefore, any good thing I can do, any kindness I can show, let me do it now. Let me not neglect it nor defer it, for I shall pass this way but once. And now, if I can remember it well, from the Tibetan book of the dead, the prayer for the dying, which is repeated for 49 days, and it goes this way. I didn't bring it with me, so I'm going to try and remember it. Go into the clear light, the clear, pure, white light, from which everything in this universe comes, which everything in the universe goes. The original state of your own mind, the natural state of the universe unmanifested. Let go into the clear light. Trust it. Merge with it. It is your own true nature. It is home. So now if we could have 3 minutes of silence for those living and those who have passed, and knowing that this life never ends. It is cyclical. It goes on and on. And to that, I add just one more thing directly to you guys, which is what I found solace in with death in my family, particularly my husband. This is from Thich Nhat Hanh, and it says, "No coming, no going, no after, no before. I hold you close. I release you to be free, for I am in you, and you are in me." 3 minutes of silence, please. Again, Jeff is ready to begin. Blessings to all.
I hope that talk today is of comfort to you.
I hear music.
I hope today this talk is a comfort to you, is what I said. I'll speak up.
Yeah, I'm deaf too.
Yeah. The one of the most interesting things that I have learned in the 9 years of being here, and this group is about 9 years old, is the value of detachment. And I have to start with that because the talk today on hindrances to happiness show 5 ways of attachment, and actually a couple of them lack of attachment that lead to trouble with happiness. And so I just want to start with that general idea that if you've never been to a group that talks about detachment, this will be one. Lynn and I were trained in psychology, and there's an attachment theory that's a part of our training, and there is not a detachment theory. And I find that really intriguing because I came here and I knew quite a bit about different kinds of healthy and unhealthy attachments. But I hadn't really thought beyond letting go of some things about the value of detachment. I have to tell you, since I've learned this, I get opportunities every day to practice it.
Several times.
Challenges every day
It's a challenge
about
every day.
how to operate in an involved, detached way. I got to practice it this morning. I got to practice it last night. We get to practice it all kinds of times if we know it. And I've started to know it. And I'm from a very attached set of people and a very attached culture and very energetic people who operate at an unhappy level too much of the time. And so this talk today is largely under the umbrella of detachment. I think that people often view that term negatively because they think that it means distancing and disconnecting and distancing, and it is not. That is not what it is. Detachment is how to become an observer, examiner, chooser, and decider
Witness.
in your life, a witness to your life. Without that, life takes you on its own terms. And if you have had enough experience where those terms feel uncomfortable to you, then this idea of detachment starts to become attractive and useful, really useful. We try to be a Dharma group that has quite a bit of Westernness to it, even though the roots of Buddhism are in the East. So this is about how you practice this stuff every day. So Brad last week talked about happiness. Lovely, great talk.
For sure.
And I ended up with this talk with no idea when I left here last week what I would talk about. And it came to me that I have done talks on 5 bowls as an illustration of this umbrella of detachment and attachment and the troubles of it. And I was like, I think I should do the 5 bowls. And then as I dug out my old notes, I realized that these are hindrances to happiness. So it's perfect. Brad talked about the beauty and the energy of happiness, and I want to talk about the things that get in the way. But I start positively as I mostly do, and that these 5 hindrances of happiness, maybe these bowls will help you see the ideas, and then we'll talk about it as we always do in this group. These are mind obstructions. These are ways that our mind works and has been trained and has been led that lead us to unhappiness, lead us away from happiness. So let's start a different definition than yours last week, but companion. Happiness is the true nature of one's mind. It is like a bowl filled with clear water, and you can reflect your own image in it and see things clearly. Beautiful. It also fits with the whole idea that we talk about, that is Buddha nature, that this pure, clear person that we arrived as. That is what we're returning home to. If ever you get a chance to see a picture of you when you're young, look at it. There's closer to your Buddha nature than maybe even currently. The purity and the clarity of that. And so happiness is home, as Ruthie talked about. It's home, and our job in finding happiness and in training our mind differently is to return home. Just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, a very Buddhist movie.
Just like our poster that says, we're all just walking each other home.
Right, exactly.
Which is appropriate for the day.
Totally.
It's why we gather together.
So let's talk about the hindrances. 5 bowls illustrated by Buddhist teaching. The first bowl, hindrance 1, is like a bowl filled with dye. Clouded, inaccurate perception of how your life is and how life is. Fueled by sensory desire. The dye is senses, is sensory desire. Impulses and the desire for comfort. All of those things get in the way of happiness because they're only temporary relief in their compulsive nature.
They're addictive.
The more we follow an impulse, the more we get used to it. The more we get trained in comfort, the more uncomfortable we get when we're not comfortable. And so this hindrance is about desires. There are healthy desires that are in balance. Non-compulsive, non-addictive things. Wishes, motivations, aspirations, basic needs. All of those things are really legitimate on the road to happiness. The unhealthy desires are these words in contrast. Instead of wishes, it's thirsts. Instead of motivations, it's compulsions. Instead of aspirations, it's addictions. Instead of needs, it's wants. I want that. I will be more comfortable. I don't know if you've ever... There are 2 bad things about buying a new car. One, as soon as you drive it out of the lot, it's like worth $5,000 less. The second thing, it's really nice for like a day.
Yeah,
It's like you drive the shiny car up to your driveway and you're like, isn't this awesome? And then that fades because it's connected with impulses and it's connected often with comfort.
And dreams.
And
You
dreams.
dream of all the fun you're going to have on the boat, and then you get there and you're doing the build and completion.
This bowl of water with dye is too clouded for us to find happiness, lasting happiness, the true state of our mind. Number 2, a bowl of heated water, bubbling heated water. So the first one is dye, second one is heated water, fueled by anger and aversion, which creates mental turbulence and obscures the clarity of the vision of happiness. The anger arises when we attach, listen to that, when we attach to a particular unguaranteed outcome. I want to say that again, because I think that's not my writing, it's somebody else's clever writing. This anger arises when we attach to a particular unguaranteed outcome. Viewing circumstances in a personal way that gets in the way of just the law of cause and effect. We all experience this stuff where we don't like things. We like things, we don't like other things. We have expectations, we have hopes, and it doesn't go our way. And therefore, this bubbling water starts to rise. There is an antidote to anger and aversion, and that is the idea that whatever rises will fall. So if you feel angry now, you won't after a while.
Just wait. Be patient.
This is part of anger management principles. Give it some moments. Don't do anything. When you're angry, it's lovely to sit on these kind of things. It will change. If you fuel the anger, it won't change. You can sit here and fuel the anger, and it'll be a snowball rolling down the hill, and it'll be a big crash at the bottom. So it is about mind training, where you get away from aversion. You let it be what it is. Watch it as it rises. Watch it as it falls. So much of this is about being a better observer. The second one, heated water. The third one, a hindrance to happiness. I have to smile at Sharon when I say this. Do you know what it is? Sloth and torpor. Don't you remember? You get a chuckle about this every time.
I love those words.
Yes.
Sloth.
Sloth and torpor. T-A-U-P-I-R. Torpor.
T-O-R-P-O-R.
Okay, I spelled it wrong.
Forgive you. Your dad sloth and torpor acting up again. You didn't look at the dictionary.
Okay. I'm going to go on. This is a
Slow.
learn to spell. This is a bowl of water
We know what you mean.
with algae. Green water.
Mossy water.
Mossy water. Stagnated mind. Stuck patterns. No clarity. No energy. No light in the tunnel. Disconnected rather than detached. I often have done this before, that this is very ecosystemic. If indeed your life is a pond where water comes in, clear water comes in, and clear water gathers, and clear water goes out, you don't have a problem with this one. The problem is all water in, no water out, algae. No water in, all water out, mold, algae. And so this is really about balance. It's really about the balance of cleaning your mind, clearing your mind, training your mind, receiving, giving. See all the ways that this balances it out. People who get stuck, and there are times in our life where we get stuck. Often, grief is a tough thing to not get stuck in. And the process process is that sooner or later, what rises will fall in all of the emotions of loss. It will. I've known a lot of people who are stuck in the same pattern, and they're moldy. Tiresome, actually difficult to be around. You know what they're going to say in their same stuck way that they've said it to you 100 times.
Even when you're talking to yourself.
Even this can be about yourself too. This is how I talk to myself over and over and over again. Do you want to add something about how you talk to yourself in a moldy
I do
way?
it all the time.
You do? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think you have to get beyond it. We'll discuss that when we get to Rumi.
Okay, got it.
But yeah.
So this bowl is really about being stuck and de-energized. And so sloth and torpor are about being stuck and giving no energy for something different. You okay, Kathy?
She's in an ants infestation. Excuse us.
Do you need
Go
some?
on. We'll
It's okay. All right. We'll wait.
What happened?
It's just ants.
Oh my goodness. There has to be a lot of equanimity when you get into sloth and torpor, because there's a point at which you need to rest. You need to lay everything down. You need to go into almost a hibernation state. That's the function of going on retreats. I've told you recently that I've had several meltdowns since the last election and before. And I discovered that if I had only listened to myself and practiced what I so-called preached, the minute I felt the meltdown coming on, I would have excused myself and simply taken a
Had a
retreat.
retreat, right.
Instead, I brought it to the group and involved everybody. So, there you go. We make mistakes too. We just forget. But there is a point at which too much relaxation is sloth, and which not enough is even worse.
Yeah.
So back to discernment and equanimity.
But that's why we're here, is to support you through those times.
Okay, I'm done. I was just filling in the space and time.
Hindrance 4.
Yes.
A windswept waters.
Yeah.
So the same bowl, nothing in the water, just wind sweeping across the top of the water. This is restlessness and worry.
The other half of that coin.
Yeah. If you're from the West, let's just say this is one of your conditions. Restlessness and worry. If you didn't, you're fortunate. This is when life continues to blow at you, and you're blown by it. That to be quiet, to be thoughtful, to observe, to examine, all of those ideas of detachment are not possible. These states of agitation and overexcitement or constant activity train the mind to be like a monkey. From limb to limb to limb, from thing to thing to thing to thing, unthoughtful, just going on. I have family members who are exactly this. I have had times in my life when I'm exactly this. Too many things, too many lists, too much energy outputted. And at that point, life takes you rather than you cooperating with life. it's unfulfilling, and it leads to a future of undones. What's your phrase, Diane, about being undone? Leave nothing. Say your phrase. Do nothing and nothing is left undone. She quotes that to me quite often.
And someone has written somewhere in my distant past that the final words of the Buddha to Ananda were, "Done is what had to be done." That just popped in.
Good. You've never said
Perfect.
that
I know. I never thought of it before. Go for years.
before. This windswept kind of bowl and life is a really non-mindful state, and that's the flaw of it. It's not. It is not involved. It is swept by the currents of whatever happens. I think you're talking about the turmoils in the world, and those things. This has a way of currently sweeping us.
This is the overwhelming.
Yeah,
rather
this
than
is, and
than
so
the disengaging.
so again, there's a chance. How will I detach from that level of excessiveness?
Mm-hmm.
How will I do that and still be involved in the world?
Still be
Not
aware
become a
of it, not
hermit
be
off in
stuck.
some cave somewhere. And so that's the balance trick of this thing. The last one is a bowl of muddy water. This is doubt and indecision. A mind state of wavering between houses, straddling the line rather than seeing reality. This is stuck, we talk often about, there's a balanced line in the middle of everything. This is not what this is talking about. This is talking that due to doubt, worry, indecision, that you are stalled on the line. You can't, you're frozen. And this doubt and indecision fits very well with the sloth and torpor, I think. The third one and the fifth one here fit really nicely together. And so that muddy water will not also lead you to happiness. So let me review those five, and then let's talk for a minute. A bowl with dye, that's about sensory desire. Gets in the way of happiness.
Craving.
A bowl of heated water, anger and aversion.
Don't cling.
A bowl with algae, which has to do with inactivity and sloth.
Buddha means awake.
Buddha means awake. Hindrance 4, windswept water, based on restlessness and worry.
Relax.
Okay, I'm waiting for your input.
I know. I'm just ripping here. Let's see
and,
what comes to
and the
mind.
bowl of muddy
Get
water.
Your own thoughts.
The,
Just get in mine and
the,
throw
bowl,
them out there.
the bowl of muddy water connected with doubt and indecision.
That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the hardest one for me to understand.
Okay.
Do you want to add something?
Want me to explain it to you?
I would love that.
Okay. When John is John here? When he
John's
gave,
over there.
When he gave his talk on the Buddha's teaching on skepticism and the difference between skepticism and the teachings, and not taking anything on blind faith. Be skeptical. Take the teachings, practice them, try to understand them if you're a little uncertain as to what they are, and if they are meant for you, your doubt will dissipate. Don't take it because the Buddha says, don't even take it from me. Do it for yourself. And when you feel that it is right for you, then it is right for you, and you no longer have to doubt it. But if you get in front of all this, you become like the T.S. Eliot's guy, J. Alfred Prufrock. Do I dare to eat a peach? You get where you can't make decisions, and you can't come to a real faith which intuitively know is right for you. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I had another thing that made it even clearer, but does that make it clearer?
Helps.
In other words, practice, confirm, don't be cynical. Don't take anybody else's word for it. Don't take it on blind faith. Take it on experiential practice. Discernment. Yeah. And this dispels doubt. So this is skepticism rather than doubt. One's healthy, one can be dangerous. But one quick add to that, the greatest pitfall in starting to study the Dharma is this possibility of getting stuck in the middle. When you, rather than understanding the middle way, which you're on a circle and it really has no middle, it's you with your free will finding your points of balance and equanimity. There's no if you get stuck with a what do we call it, moral dilemma or whatever, where you've got one foot on one side and one on the other, the great danger of Buddhism is nihilism or nihilism, whichever way you want to say it, which is that everything is equal. Nothing is better or worse. You go too far with this and you don't realize that it moves all the time. It's a matter, the reason Einstein loved the Buddha was because the Buddha talks all about relativity. Where are you on the cycle? Okay, so where are you on the cycle? Where is your middle way? Mine may be a little different than yours, but we're both looking. We're all looking. Anyway, does that make any sense? So doubt is when you doubt yourself, and you doubt and you begin to get cynical or negative. Stay open. Keep Ivan's beginner's mind, and you will dispel doubt, because doubt is paralyzing when you can't say yes or no, good or bad. So now I'll be quiet.
Good, thank you. All of these hindrances are really to draw us back to the process of moving towards being a clean bowl again. But to know them, to understand them, is also to know how to deal with them when they do arise, because they do. Mm-hmm. And so to become a really, to stay detached is to become a really good observer, a really good examiner, a really good chooser, a really good actor. You go through that process of which we've taught many times here, but it starts with observation and analysis. If you become quiet enough and trained in your mind enough, you can become clearer and clearer and clearer in your perception of reality as it is. That's the hope of this. So, comments?
Thank you.
Comments,
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
Lisa?
About, I guess, finding balance in, when you recognize you've got at least one dirty bowl,
I had a whole
and the
kitchen
need,
sink
and
full of
the idea, okay, I would like to change this, I'd like to change
Yeah.
these things, but then a compassion for yourself for, sort of being human and having these things. Because I think it can be easy, to beat yourself up for not doing the right things to help yourself. But
there's something that I'm going to share at the end about how to work through these hindrances. Why don't you hold and see if there's something there? I think I don't want to say that stuff until I'm ready to say it. I do think the realization that there's a dirty bowl is crucial. This is an area. This is a work area. Maybe sloth is not a regular state of mind that I have, but maybe anger is, or maybe restlessness is. I think that's where, when you sit with that stuff, is when you start to. It starts to transform when you notice it. I'll see if there's some more later. Other comments? Yeah, Diane.
It seems to me that taking things
Holler at me, will you?
Yeah, talk a little louder.
seems to me like taking things personally is a major cause of unhappiness.
Yes.
Which bowl would
Taking
that
things
go in?
Personally, is anger aversion bowl.
It's not an ego thing of taking things.
I think it is. Yes, I think it isn't. I think it is an ego thing.
There's anger and
I'm
what you're taking.
what did you say? That
Aversion to whatever it is you're
What is the anger bowl?
anger and
Taking
aversion.
things too personally or being too sensitive or making it all about you.
Thin skin.
Thin skin.
That kind of touches in one way or another on all of them.
It does a little bit.
Oh,
In my notes, Diane, viewing circumstances in a personal way. I have it under the anger and aversion. It has to do somehow with setting up expectations, like that sentence that I read, Troy. Anger arises when we attach to a particular unguaranteed outcome.
Jeff,
Yeah, right.
I think it's important to note that all of these are in reference to different variations or foundational elements of suffering, and oftentimes any given situation could fit into multiple containers, multiple bowls, and so it's important to understand what type of suffering it is and what the antidote to that suffering is, and also that these can all generally be distilled down to confusion. So even though there's 5 bowls here, each one of these could further be distilled down to some form of confusion. So even if you're in multiple bowls or one bowl, or however you look at it, in the end it's some sort of confusion around that, and the antidote to confusion is bringing light and awareness to whatever it is.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Knowing, understanding it. Yes.
I feel I definitely have to practice realize.
I bet.
I feel like I know never felt such anger. Because I meditated and he had things on my head. And just the night before we were still trying to remember that time when I was meditating and fighting 2 in the morning. This house breaking arms. I didn't
to the other things. There are 5 steps. This is really a positive way of dealing with these hindrances. So it might fit Lisa here. 5 steps to abandoning the pattern of these hindrances. Retraining your mind. Clearing your mind. First one. Recognize when a hindrance is present. So, when you feel angry, recognize it for what it is. 2, by the way, this fits beautifully with psychology as well. 2, remember when it wasn't there. What life was like when it wasn't, when that unclarity wasn't there. 3, seek to understand the temporary nature of everything. This too shall pass.
What is of the nature to arise is of the nature to subside. Be patient.
If you really understand that, there's nothing that has to throw you off your square, because this too will pass. Yeah, Brad.
Something that the Lama speaks about is that there are only 2 things that are permanent.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is space, and the other thing is the true essence of human nature. Everything else is a composite, and therefore everything else is in a constant state of change, whether we want it to be or not.
Yep. And so to understand that is a crucial piece.
And love that, and just embrace that.
Be okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what Diane's talking about, the antidote to that, remember, this is 5 hindrances. He doesn't say that's all there are. Under the definition of what is a self, the Buddha has 52 things under mind formations. So we have all kinds of things. These are like broad categories that are pretty common to all of us. But the business of being thin-skinned, of taking things personally, is you start working with the concept of going beyond self into true self, your own true nature, not your non-self, which are all the things you've been conditioned for. And that takes care of that problem. But everything in Buddhism leads you something else. You know, you can grab hold of it anywhere, and you can play 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Join everything can join, which makes it a lot of perpetual interest. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I just I'm talking off my head.
It's okay. The 4th one, plan a strategy for removing the aversion. This is pretty practical stuff. Plan a strategy of how you're going to do it.
Study non-self.
One of the probably in any number of these bowls is what seems to be problematic emotion, loneliness. Not one that I regularly had, but I've had it a couple times in my life. But I was really restless, and when I would stop, I'd be longer. And so I read this little book by Henry Nouwen. He was a monk, and he said the only antidote was to sit with the loneliness and make it your friend. So I decided that Thursday nights would be my night. No phone, no television, no people, just go home, be with myself. At that point in time, I lived alone in a house. I hated it.
That should have told you something.
I dreaded the first weeks of it. my heart would actually start to pound harder as I got closer to
We're
my house.
addicted to stimulation all the time.
Yeah,
It's getting worse too.
and so, but 6 months in, it was my favorite night.
Yep.
I
Stay
needed,
with
I
it.
needed, I
Stay
needed
with
to plan a strategy for the removal of something very specific, and make that plan. That's a short-term idea, and then the longer-term plan is number 5. Plan a strategy for avoiding hindrances in the future. And so that's a big picture idea. And I think the short picture starts it, and then you plan a strategy about how to avoid these kind of hindrances. That could mean that if there's a person that you always feel lonely around, for my example, that would mean that my strategy is to disengage from a trigger that's problematic and a hindrance for me to my happiness, to my state of mind. Last things. 3 steps to happiness that are from long, long ago. Recognize the hindrance. Release the hindrance. Replace the hindrance.
4 noble truths.
That is what that is a Western version of the 4 Noble Truths, by the way, which we're going to pick up again in January.
Good. Keep coming back to the basics.
Absolutely. Recognize the hindrance, release it, replace it. If you just release it, it has a tendency to make its way back. Therefore, you need to fill the space with something different. When we do loving kindness meditation and we get to the 4th portion of it, someone that you don't like or doesn't like you, you're getting along, there's some kind of negativity going on with you. You replace that with loving kindness, and over a period of time, it dissipates. It goes away. All of a sudden, now you actually have enacted a strategy for avoiding that hindrance. Again, I told many of you that the church that fired me, I used to give it the finger for about 10 years as I drove by.
No.
And now, my mom was in the car with me, and I said the loving kindness blessing for the church.
Good.
That's progress. That's how to stay away from that aversion, because I can feed that negativity, that anger, that aversion for that place. And it works.
Well, the main thing is that practicing the Dharma has brought you home to your original belief in Christianity,
Absolutely.
which you had lost your faith. And so now, thanks to the Dharma, give me a high five.
Hey, Jeff.
We all
Yeah,
should
Lynn.
give each other a high five. Give me a high five.
Lynn, go ahead.
Do you know if the church ever progressed? Do you
No,
have
the
any-
church, the amazing thing about that church, and I helped start the church, that's why it was so core to me. There was only 12 of us, and now it's about 4,000 people.
Do you think it progressed from those days?
No,
Or more inclusion?
no, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. So,
Makes a lot
I-
more money.
the slogan of the church was "Come as you are, you'll be loved."
Yes, they taught you.
And they taught me that wasn't true. But you want to know, my response, Lynn, is not about them. My response is about me.
Yeah.
That I do not want to carry that weight for the rest of my life, and therefore I need to apply these, bringing myself home again to all that. Other comments here at the end? I think we're doing okay as far as time. Yeah, 11 o'clock.
This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Something that I occasionally find myself doing is being in the moment, realizing the difficult passage, telling myself this too shall pass, and being
Absolutely. It's understandable. But undoable over time. Yeah. Somebody else thought, yeah.
I, of course, like the waves of grief are knocking me down every day, but for the most part, I just feel love and gratitude for the time that we had with him. He was an amazing man. My father's name is Alan Kennedy. And all of your talks and kindness leading up to this, I am so grateful, and I hear your voices echo when I woke up this morning. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is an option. Let's have a little bit more breath, thinking about how the jungle forces us to be present. Present. So when we walk along the beach, I can say to my mom, like, I got that flower for you. Got those dozen flowers for you. We see him in so many forms. I don't know, there's so many more things that I can that this circle right here has given me. And I just want to say how grateful I am that this space exists for all of your love.
We're glad. They're probably not a coincidence that you're here at this time. That this happened. So you have a place to come to.
Watch out for red birds.
Right,
Watch out for red birds.
Where's the red one?
What about red birds?
Really? No idea.
What about red birds?
He's been here all the time.
Wow. That I've had 2 experiences with red birds. That this is the 3rd now.
Uh-oh. Oh, you were visited by red birds?
Yeah. The pastor that I grew up with, his son committed suicide, and the mother found him, and she's really a wonderful lady, and she said she sat out on her patio it was summer in Minnesota, and every day this red bird would come and would visit her, a bird she'd never seen before. And she said that was her son. Let us go. He's okay. When our dog Bolita died, I was laying on the bed feeling bad. She's the only being that ever just followed me. It ever just followed me around. Nobody in my whole life has ever just followed me around. She followed me around. I had no idea, and so when she died, it was difficult. And then this red bird kept chirping at me that I had not seen before outside the window. Would not stop until I went out on the patio and looked, and then it flew away. And then I remembered that story. So this is the 3rd red bird. Huh.
Wow.
And the scarlet pause left the trees and left the sky.
Really?
Yeah, we keep hearing beautiful stories. We met back when we go back to the beach that were there, and they tell us when they saw us or something that was there yesterday. We went back to the beach on Sunday morning, and there was hundreds. My mom got a bucket of lights, and she used the turtles, and the howler monkeys are wailing with us. Like, I am like in awe of how we are being held at this jungle inside.
I'm glad you're here with us.
We're very glad you're here. And everyone here is our hearts are
Maybe we should do loving kindness meditation, huh?
Everybody ready for our loving kindness meditation?
Yes.
Before we do the loving kindness meditation, there are 2 more short sayings. uh, that may be of service to you and of comfort. One comes from the wonderful teacher Ram Dass, who had a spirit friend named Emmanuel. And when Ram Dass had created the Living and Dying Foundation in San Francisco to take care of the patients that even the hospitals were turning aside, which were AIDS patients, HIV patients, he made several notes about it. But one of them was, at one point he went into meditation and he said, Emmanuel, I'm not coming up with an answer to the compassion. What can I say to these beautiful young people who are dying of this terrible disease? So young. And he said the answer came back just like that, very loud and clear. Emmanuel said, tell them that death is perfectly safe. Okay? It's perfectly safe. So that, hopefully, I believe it's true. All those who've had near-death experiences have come back and said the same thing, and lots more people have this experience. So remember that death is perfectly safe. The other one is for all of us who are alive. Every religion tells us that in life there is death. It's with us all the time. But there is a lovely little saying for gratitude that the Buddhists say you should give some moments of thought to death, your death, and all death, every day, so that you have a greater appreciation and gratitude for life. And that little saying, I like this one a lot, is how view this fleeting world like a star at dawn, like a bubble in a stream, like a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, like a flickering lamp, like a phantom, like a dream. And now, everybody ready for, we're so glad you're here. For each and every one of us, all people have had traumatic moments. For all of us, our hearts are open. So now let's widen our circle of compassion with our metta. I will say a phrase. You repeat it to yourself silently, to the person we're talking to, within our hearts, in our minds, and in our spirits. This is to widen the circle of friendship, unconditional, the infinite friendship, not the finite one. The unconditional friendship, the unconditional love, on which we base our practice. And we'll begin with ourselves. Bring yourself to mind. Look into that bit of water and just see your reflection, that bowl. That's the bowl we're looking at. So you see your reflection and you say to yourself, may I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, equanimity, calm and peaceful. May I be happy. Smile at your reflection in the bowl and look at the next bowl. And in this one, you see someone you love with all your heart. And to this person, say, may you be well, wherever you are. May no harm come to you. May you live with equanimity, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we move outward to a neutral person. This is someone with whom you're familiar but you're not close. If you don't know his or her name, address them as friends. So let's say every morning you walk your dog and there's this nice guy who drives by and you wave and he waves and they go on and he goes into your rearview mirror. And you really don't know him, you just know that somewhere he's in your neighborhood. So bring him to and say to him, dear friend, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. And now as he disappears in your rearview mirror, or his rearview mirror, you go to the next person. And this is very different. This is someone with whom you are in conflict. They don't like you. You don't like them. You are not friends. You probably will never be friends. But you do not wish to live with even a seed of malice in yourself, in your heart. So this is really as much for yourself as it is just thinking about him. This is about healing yourself of any ill will for anyone. Unconditional friendship. So bring this person to mind. Look at them very squarely. Smile and say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Take a sigh along with a deep breath. Let it go, let it go, let it go. And now, for the fifth in our farthest circle of compassion and goodwill, we put our hands over our hearts, which is the symbol for embracing everything, all of it, nothing excluded, all sentient beings. And now we speak a little differently. We say, may all beings everywhere, on this plane and all other planes, be well. May all beings everywhere day.